Welcome to the Airbnb Roadmap, the podcast designed to navigate you through the entire journey of short-term rental success, whether you're just starting out or ready to take your hosting game to the next level. My husband and I became super hosts within just months of launching our first Airbnb and have proudly kept that title ever since. With over 300 reviews and an overall 4.95 star ratings, we've picked up a hack or two I'm excited to share with you. In each episode, I break down the strategies, insights, and industry secrets that set profitable short-term rentals apart. From choosing the right property, understanding local regulations, and obtaining your first listing to go beyond just the basics, I'm here to share everything you need to succeed. So, if you're ready to map out your path to Airbnb success and unlock the full potential of short-term rentals, join me on the Airbnb Roadmap. Your journey starts here. Hey, I'm Brittany Wenninger, and welcome to another episode of the Airbnb Roadmap. Thank you again for tuning in, learning with me and from me. And, it's one of those things that, I have done so many mistakes, so I'm so happy that you can actually learn from them because there's a lot. And if you can avoid any mistakes or avoid doing any shenanigans that I've done, take it and run with it because I think that is absolutely awesome. Anyways, let's get into this week's episode. This week's episode is all about the small but mighty team that you will create for yourself for your short-term rental. Your team is so important. I don't think I can emphasize this enough. They are literally your lifeline of your short-term rental and need to be treated as such because these people, honestly, they know your property more than you do. And I know that's really weird to say, but your cleaner literally goes in there couple times a week. And if you live an hour away or even 30 minutes away, or if you're someone that, just wants to make it passive, I'm sure you're not in your property a couple times a week. So these people are vital to your success. So keep that one in mind as we talk about who is on your team and how to find them and all of that good jazz. So let's start with the very first one, the easiest one, and I'm sure you're going to guess it. It's the cleaner. The cleaner is your number one employee. They are your eyes, ears, everything about your short-term rental. Now, a lot of people have a hard time finding a great cleaner. And honestly, they're not easy to find, so I don't blame you. Luckily, we have definitely lucked out with all of our cleaners, but right when we got our very first short-term rental, I was in panic mode because we got the cabin and honestly, I called everywhere. And a lot of people don't specialize in short-term rental. So when I experienced this, I was like, okay, there's a lot of cleaners, but no one specializes in short-term rental. I don't really know myself what to do for a short-term rental clean because that was my very first one. So I actually found a Facebook group. It's like short-term rental cleaners of Wisconsin or something like that. And I just did a post. I'm like, hey, looking for a short-term rental cleaner in this area. Please let me know if you know of anyone. I would love to connect. And thankfully, someone actually reached out to me and they became our very first cleaner. Now, the great thing with this cleaner is that she actually taught me so much. Like, for example, we had coffee syrups out, the French vanilla, the caramel. I was trying to get bougie. She walked into our property and she's like, oh yeah, you gotta get rid of these. I'm like, whoa, what? I don't want to get rid of this. This is cute. And she's like, think about someone can easily unscrew the cap, add drugs in there, and then screw the cap back on, and people will put that in their coffee. So she just opened my eyes on all the ways that people can drug me, which is funny because like now I know, but back in the day I was like, this is outrageous. Like, why would anyone do this? But dude, there's people out there. So hide your wife, hide your kids, because they're out there. Sorry, that was kind of weird, but it's true. So this cleaner taught me so much. Now, this cleaner did a really, really good job. But after a while, you can tell that, she was showing up later in the day and was just like rushing through the clean. So I always try to make it to the property at least once a quarter. It all depends on like how far the property is. But I try getting there once a quarter just to do a surprise audit. And sometimes like there will be a list and sometimes it's absolutely perfect. But I remember my very first audit I did, we have a very coarse white like farm style sink and it was getting yellow and nasty. So I was like, hey, let's make sure to like keep this clean. There's also spider webs that was forming in the corners. I'm like, hey, let's, attention to detail. Let's get that fixed. So she always like was able to actually like fix the issues, which obviously like I would hope so, but just make sure to give your cleaner what I call the crap sandwich. I know that's probably not the correct term, but you are their boss and you have to remember that. So give them a compliment. So be like, hey, your cleaning has been so good. However, the sink is a little bit dirty, so let's focus on that for a little bit. But overall, like, you have been doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. Because when you give them a compliment, ways to improve on something that you noticed that like was kind of off, and then a compliment again, like it doesn't sound harsh. Sounds like that you actually like, well, I hope that you would actually really like them. I really like all of mine, but it just doesn't sound as mean when you word it like that. Now, in later episodes, we will kind of go over more details with cleaners because there's so much when it comes to cleaning. So we'll do that in another episode. But just know that you can find cleaners on Facebook. You can also do a great word of mouth. So like our very first cleaner for one of our properties, unfortunately, the drive just got too much for her. And she actually found our second cleaner for us. I thought that was so awesome because our second cleaner was actually really good as well. And I'm like, wow, like we are really lucking out right now. And I just thought that was so cool. Like she did put in, I believe, like a month notice or something like that, and she was like, hey, I already have someone lined up and I'm gonna give them all the things that you gave me and all that shenanigans. So I thought that was really cool. Now when that person left, she actually moved to a whole nother like city that was far away. She did not find another cleaner for us. So I actually had to do a whole interview process with a lot of people, and we found our next guy, and he's a handyman. And I'm like, this is so awesome that you are a handyman, because that's one of the properties that we are trying to make like almost 100% passive. Obviously, we're never going to do that because we self-manage all of our properties. But I was like, dang, like, this is awesome. This leads me into the second most important team member, and that is the handyman. That was a good transition, Britt. Thanks, man. Sorry, that was weird. I totally talk to myself every once in a while, but it's the handyman. So finding a good handyman is also a challenge. The best way I have found ours is literally word of mouth. One of our properties, Clay actually went to college with the guy, and I don't really think that he like really likes to do small handyman work, but he will do it for us, so thank you. The other properties, it's one of those things that like if our plumbing went out, then I'll probably call like the local plumber. Like we don't have a go-to handyman, but we also have a lot of contractors that know a lot of other contractors. So I usually just kind of reach out to them saying, hey, do you know of blah, blah, blah? And then they will definitely just direct us to the right person. Now, don't forget to actually like ask what that project will cost, because I have found that a lot of people don't like to do small work. A lot of contractors like to do the big work and just, rake in that money. So just make sure to be like, hey, like, this is what we're looking for. Generally, how much do you think that this is going to cost? And if you think that that cost is way too much, maybe look elsewhere, because they might know that, you are only reaching out to them, so they will inflate that cost. So just make sure to ask them what the quote is and kind of take it from there. Now, I know a lot of other Airbnb hosts will actually have a go-to handyman, and if something is damaged in the cabin, the cleaner will actually reach out to the handyman and say, hey, there's a hole in the wall. Can you come out and fix it? The handyman will then go out and fix it because he knows exactly when the turns are. And then all of a sudden you just get a quote. That's all fine and dandy. And I'm not saying like, don't do that. I think that will actually make your life a lot more passive, which is great. But just make sure to have a lot of trust in that handyman and make sure that he's not just like charging you an arm and leg and all of a sudden you just get these like crazy bills. And make sure to still like stay in the loop with what is actually happening, because you don't want all of a sudden like all these bills come flooding in and you're like, I didn't even know that that was happening. I didn't know that there was a hole in the wall. I didn't know that one of the mirrors was broken. Like, I didn't know that this was happening. So just make sure to kind of like stay in the loop, because overall it's your property, it's your money that you're spending, and you don't want to just like throw it away type of thing. Thinking of listing your property on Airbnb? Here's an exciting opportunity just for you. When you sign up and use my name, Brittany Wenninger, you'll receive exclusive guidance on your profile. I'll work with you personally to make your listing shine, highlighting what makes your property special, appealing to the guests, and ensuring it stands out from the rest. Plus, you'll receive $48 when you launch and host your first guest in 180 days from signing up with the link in my show notes. It's a unique chance to get an insider perspective and boost your listing's appeal from day one. Don't just list your property. Let's make it unforgettable. Again, sign up by clicking the link in the show notes and let's elevate your Airbnb game together. And we're coming up to now our third team member. And this is all seasonality. If you are in Colorado, if you are in a northern state, like good old Wisconsin, then you're going to need this person. And it is a snowplow person. I always want to say snowplow man. So if I say that, like, I'm sorry if you're a woman and you actually snowplow, but I just always say snowplow man. So apologies, but it's the snowplow person. And if you're in a rural area, finding a snowplow man is quite difficult if you are out in the country, because that just means that he will literally have to drive all the way to your property at like 2 o'clock in the morning just to get a driveway. So I have found, are quite difficult to find, but obviously very, very important, because no one wants to go out to their property at 2 o'clock in the morning just to snowplow, especially if you don't have the right equipment. For your snowplow man, make sure to have them shovel the sidewalk up to the front door. That way your guest doesn't have to like rug through the snow and then they get snow in their shoes and then they're not happy and all that good jazz. We actually keep a shovel next to all of our doors at the properties, because sometimes our snowplow man won't get there until like 10 o'clock in the morning because he has bigger deals going on. He has to shovel like huge parking lots and all that good jazz. So sometimes he won't get there till later, but at least they have a shovel, like the guest has a shovel to get out to their car so then they could make their way back home. One helpful tip about your snowplow man is to definitely get on his list / radar in the fall. The sooner the better, because I found that a lot of them have max capacity. So if he can only do like 10 driveways a morning and you all of a sudden call and you're number 11, he might turn you down saying that he just has too many contracts going on and he can't really service you. So make sure to call in advance, get on their radar, and then that way you can secure the service. Because I will tell you a brief story of what happened this year is that we actually pay quite a good amount for our snowplow. And we got on his radar. We're like, yep, we want to use you again. Because honestly, like, we didn't really have anyone else. Like, we were already pretty lucky finding this guy. And we're like, yep, we'll use you again. We send in a check because this guy was like, you have to pay for the whole year worth. And if it's going to cost more, then I'll charge you and all that good jazz. But anyways, we give him a check and month goes by, month and a half goes by. All of a sudden we get a letter in the mail and it's our check. And it's literally a letter with the check saying there wasn't enough contracts. He's not doing snowplow anymore. He's shutting down the business. If he knows anyone that wants to buy his truck, he's selling it. And this was about I want to say 2 or 3 weeks before a expected big snowfall. And I was like, oh my God, we are so screwed. We already had a hard time finding this guy. Now we have to find another guy. And it was a show. It was a crap show. And Clay and I were trying to come up with all these ideas of what we could do. Clay even came up, I just laughed because it was just such a bad situation. But Clay's like, if we can't find anyone, I can go up before work and snowplow. And this kid, I say kid because I love my husband, but he okay, I need to stop laughing. All right, be serious. He already leaves for work at 5 a.m. Normal people leave at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. He leaves at 5 a.m. So the fact that he already was like, I can go early in the morning to snowplow, that means that this property is an hour away. He would have to leave at 2 o'clock in the morning, snowplow at 3, leave at 4, and then we'll probably make it to work. He'll have plenty of time. So maybe if he wakes up at 3 o'clock and then, yeah. But anyways, it would be ridiculous. And then also a lot of the snow ends at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, so there would still be snow after he already gets there and snow plows. So this was kind of the thing that he was thinking about doing, and I was like, all right, that's absolutely ridiculous. What if I did it? Now I'm pregnant right now, and I was like, I don't want to, but I could figure out how to push some snow to the side. It's not going to be that difficult. But that was literally what was going on in our head, was if we cannot find a snowplow guy, we have to do it ourselves. But luckily, we found someone that is young. He's eager. He just started up his company. And he's like, I want all the contracts in the world. I'm like, yes, son. Yes, you do. Let's get it. And I'm so happy that we found him. So that issue has been resolved, and Clay does not have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my pregnant butt does not have to snowplow either. So win-win, right? Now, all of that shenanigans did happen because that cabin's literally in the middle of the country, so it's very rural, and that's why we were struggling. Plus, we were trying to get on people's radars literally way too late in the game. So make sure to call the snowplow man in the fall, get on their radar, and get on their list. Now for the fourth important team member, it also involves the good old Mother Nature, and that is a lawn care company. Now there's a couple different avenues that you can take with lawn care. First off, you can do it yourself if you live close enough and If you have like a riding lawnmower, if it's a big yard, or just if you have a lawnmower in general, you can 100% do it yourself and save a lot of money. Now, is that passive? Absolutely not. But, my husband Clay, he loves to mow the lawn. I think it's one of those things that he thinks is very relaxing. He is like one with his thoughts. He just puts out music and he just rides, which I think is so funny because I do not like doing it whatsoever. But avenue number 1, do it yourself. Avenue number 2, ask your neighbors, offer them money. Be like, hey, like, Jim Bob, do you want to make an extra $75 a week and mow my lawn, or whatever the amount is? And if you live in not like the city or anything like that, well, I guess you can live in the city, but if you don't live out in the country and you actually have some neighbors, this might be a great way for the neighbor kid to earn some really good money. And then that way the neighbor will see like, okay, their grass is getting really long. Let me cut it. So we actually do that with one of our properties. The neighbor cuts the grass and he Venmos us, we pay him, and he does a really good job. I will say he does not weed whack, which is not like the end of the world. So whenever Clay runs up there just to check out the cabin, he will quickly just weed whack and do kind of like the detailed work. And then obviously the third avenue that you can take is hiring this out. Now, it all depends on where you're located and the company, but sometimes it could get pretty pricey. And just remember that like in the summertime, they might cut your grass a couple times a week because it's growing. It's like growing like weeds, right? When it slows down, make sure that they slow down their service as well. I have learned from past clients that when it comes to lawn care, these people are like just on a schedule. They don't really think about it. They are just like go with the flow. If their schedule is to be there every Tuesday and Friday or whatever that may look like, they might just, always show up at that time. And when the grass kind of slows down the growth, you might be paying extra for no reason. Now, there are obviously companies that will just literally go out there once a week. And if the grass gets really long, it is what it is. But just make sure to interview the lawn care people and just say like, hey, like, what's the average? What do people normally do? And then go about it that way. Now, taking a different look at your small but mighty team, there's one more member that is very crucial to your success. This is a member that you would not think about because when you are just like getting started, you don't really think that this person is that important. And this is your CPA. So a CPA is your accountant, and he or she will make sure that you aren't paying an arm and leg for taxes. When you purchase a short-term rental, there are a lot of tax benefits that you can obviously like take up. So like depreciation and all that good jazz. When you find your CPA, make sure that they know the investing world, that they know the real estate world. Maybe they have a client or two that actually has a short-term rental, but make sure to actually interview them and know if they have this experience or not. Because when it comes to short-term rentals, like you can depreciate the furniture that you buy. So for this person, they are not in your properties, but they are in your bank accounts. So which one's more important, your bank account or the property? So make sure to actually vet them because they will be the deciding factor on how much you pay for taxes and if you have a W-2. But this person is very important. And if you are looking to grow your short-term rental portfolio, they will tell you, hey, to get the most amount of money off of your taxes or whatever that is, you might need to buy property this year. Like they will kind of give you a heads up on when to purchase, when to not purchase, and all that good jazz, because there's a lot of rules when it comes to short-term rentals and taxes. Like if you buy a property by the end of the year? Will you have to get your very first guest by the end of the year as well? Or what does that look like? So make sure to actually ask him really great questions. I am looking to have a CPA on the Airbnb Roadmap, and he can kind of like tell you what to look for, what not to look for. Obviously, all of his answers are going to be pretty general because he doesn't know your situation, but at least it'll kind of get your mind going on, okay, I definitely need a CPA. And you do. That was the very last team member on your small but mighty team. Obviously, your team can get much bigger, especially if you are hiring out a property manager, and that person's probably number 2 on your important list. Cleaner is always number 1. Cleaners are awesome, but obviously your team could get bigger, especially when your portfolio grows. Now, another team member could be your property designer. You can have a lot of people on your team, but the 5 most important members of your team is the cleaner, the handyman, the snowplow man, the landscapers, and then obviously your CPA. But just remember, you are the boss. Gotta treat everyone nicely. Don't be mean. And make sure to treat them with the utmost respect because they are your lifeline of your property. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Airbnb Roadmap. If you're loving these episodes and want to keep the conversation going, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to dive into the world of short-term rentals. Got a question or a topic you would love to hear about? Reach out. This podcast is all about growing and learning together. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the Airbnb Roadmap. Can't wait to see you there. Until next time, here's to turning your short-term rental dreams into thriving realities. I'll see you next time.